Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. In this video, we're going to talk about what teams have what rivalries with other teams. So, there's teams that have multiple rivalries. Like, I'm just going to use Montreal, for instance, because I watch them the most. Boston, Toronto. There's other teams as well. But so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through all teams, and I'm going to ask you what you think their biggest rivalry is, and then I'll say mine. So we're going to start with Anaheim. Who do you think their biggest rivalry is?
I think it plays into the whole battle of California, I guess. And to me, it'd be a toss-up between LA and San Jose. But I'd ultimately side with LA.
I was thinking LA as well, actually, yeah.
When it comes to Anaheim.
Phoenix.
Arizona.
Oh, sorry. Arizona. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
Every time.
Don't feel bad. I still call them the Phoenix Coyotes all the time because
I can't not say it.
That was their name for a very long time. When it comes to Arizona, sadly, this is a franchise I don't pay a lot of attention to. Sorry, Arizona fans. I wouldn't even peg them for a severe rivalry with anyone, but if I did have to pick a certain team, I'd say Calgary.
Calgary?
Yep.
Really? I honestly don't know. I think I'm in the same position as you. I have no idea. So my answer is no one. Boston.
Montreal.
Yeah, it's without question.
Can Boston ever slay Montreal?
Boston has other rivalries, but none greater than Montreal.
No, none. And to me, it's arguably the best rivalry in hockey.
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Well, Buffalo, you could actually say quite a few teams because geographically there's a lot situated, all in that same area. But I think they have a fairly decent rivalry with Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto is who I would say they've got an interesting record because I can't remember if Toronto plays really well in Buffalo or Buffalo plays really well in Toronto. It's one of the two, but yeah.
But just a note on this, I think another reason why the rivalry is so high, like you say, they're so close together geographically. It's nothing for Leafs fans to hop across the border to Buffalo to catch a game, and then likewise Buffalo fans to hop across to Toronto if Buffalo's in town playing.
Yeah, very good point. Carolina,
they actually have kind of a heated battle quite a bit with Pittsburgh, and I think a lot of it kind of ties in with Jim Rutherford because he was the GM, with Carolina for so long, and then now with Pittsburgh, and then with Jordan Staal winning Cup with Pittsburgh, and then going to Carolina. I always felt as a Penguins fan they kind of have a rivalry going to an extent.
I was going to say no one, but after your reasoning, I can see that. I understand that. Calgary,
Edmonton. Battle of Alberta, and I so wish Calgary had made it to the second round and Edmonton make it to the second round so that we could have had that Battle of Alberta in the playoffs. Oh my god, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's even arguable. Edmonton and Alberta has been a rivalry for 30
Edmonton
years.
And Calgary?
Or what did I say?
Alberta.
Edmonton. Jesus. Calgary and Edmonton have had a rivalry for 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Wow, this is what, 6th video of the day? Chicago.
Detroit.
I would say St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, you took words right out of my mouth. I was actually going to say St. Louis because I always felt that Chicago and Detroit had a rivalry, but now that Detroit's in the East, it's kind of dead because they're in different conferences. So now, yes, I would agree and say St. Louis.
Columbus.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Geographically, they're so close. And there's a lot of history between these two clubs. Pittsburgh just beating them out this year, and then 2 years ago, beat them out again. They really hate each other, these two franchises. And, man, every time they play, it's fireworks.
Yep, well said. Colorado.
Now, here's a team I don't watch a lot. Again, Western teams, unfortunately, where we are in the East Coast, I just don't get to watch them enough. The only time I really watch them is when they come out east for road trips. I'm really a toss-up for this one.
I'd say Detroit, based on what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess. It seemed like Colorado and Detroit had some of the best series I've ever watched in my life. Patrick Waugh was fought. Was it Osgood or?
Yeah, it probably would have been
Osgood. I can't remember exactly. But those were a great series to watch. So as of now, I don't really know, but overall, as on the franchise, I'd probably say Detroit.
Yeah, I kind of feel that they don't really have a legit rivalry right now.
Dallas.
And another team I don't watch enough that I should really start watching because they have some amazing guys in their lineup. I think back to like the 90s and the series that Dallas would always have with Edmonton.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh
Edmonton.
my God. Those series were just unbelievable. That was some of the most physical hockey to this day that I've seen.
Yeah, there's always a bit of rivalry there.
Yeah.
Detroit.
See, now if they were still in the West, there were some key rivalries there. But now that they're in the East, that's still a toss-up for me. There's a lot of history over the last 10 years between Detroit and Pittsburgh, and I find that every time they play each other, it really brings out the best in both clubs. I'm going to say the Penguins.
I can kind of split this into decades. I would say Chicago way back in the last 10 years, or the first 10 years of the 2000s, I'd probably say Pittsburgh. And then the last 5 years, I'd probably say Tampa. They've had some really hard
that's true.
series against Tampa.
That's true. But it seems like they would always run into each other.
Yeah. Edmonton.
Calgary,
yeah. Or Dallas.
Yeah, or Dallas. It goes both ways there.
Florida.
You could say Tampa.
Yeah, I was thinking Tampa.
For Florida, I think that's the easy
geographical
setup there. Yeah, I'd go with that. Oh man, I wish they'd go back to the old logo. Now that I see that.
LA.
Anaheim. And then you could also have an argument there for San Jose.
Yeah, and maybe even New York. I mean, that series a couple of years ago they played New York was
and I think there's a bit of a rivalry with them in Chicago as well.
Oh yeah,
because they've basically been two of the big powerhouses in the West for quite a few years, minus this year,
and maybe even now Calgary.
Yeah,
after all the stuff that's gone on this year with Doughty and Kachuk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. Who's Vegas' biggest rivalry? Phoenix? Sorry, Arizona.
You did it again.
Damn.
Yeah, I think when they get going, I think the NHL is going to purposely try to build a rivalry with them in Arizona.
Yeah, it could be great for both markets, actually.
I think it could really help them.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a toss-up here. I do recall lots of great games between Minnesota and Nashville, Minnesota, Colorado. I don't think they have a legit, in-depth rivalry with anybody.
I was going to say this when the Dallas logo came up. They played Dallas last year in the playoffs, I think, and that was a pretty good series. Mm-hmm. So I'd maybe consider Dallas, but Montreal,
Toronto, and Boston.
Yeah, there's no question. New Jersey.
I loathe New Jersey. Oh, the most boring team to watch. But, I don't really know if they have a legit rivalry with somebody because I think every team in the NHL hates playing them.
Yeah.
And people hate watching them. I'm sorry, Jersey fans, but man, your team is boring. Geographically, you could say the Rangers. You could say the Islanders.
I'd say the Rangers.
I think I'm going to settle on the Rangers if I had to pick somebody.
Nashville.
Love that logo. Nashville, boy, yeah. Again, a bit of a toss-up. I don't think they have a real legit rivalry with someone.
I'd say Chicago. They played them this year. They played them 2 years ago, I think, maybe 3, and they were all great series. I'd say Chicago. Other than that, I don't really know. Islanders.
Yeah, you could probably say the Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers. Maybe Philadelphia a little bit. Other than that, I don't really think.
No, I don't think they
have
right anything
now,
real.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, they had a great rivalry with the Oilers.
Yeah.
When their dynasty was starting to die, and then the Oilers' dynasty was just getting going, and there was a big rivalry there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Rangers.
Yeah, you can say like the same. Jersey, Islanders, that sort of thing.
They even got a little bit of rivalry with Pittsburgh as well. They've met in the playoffs.
Yeah, they do. They have met in the playoffs, and my goodness, a lot over the last few years. And I don't think those teams have a lot of love for one another.
Ottawa.
Well, Battle of Ontario, right?
Battle of Ontario.
Toronto, hands down.
Definitely. Philadelphia.
Pittsburgh. Every time these two teams get together, you can't predict it. I mean, come on. Pittsburgh won a game in the playoffs against Philadelphia a few years back, 10-1. How do you rack up 10 goals? And then they lost the next game. I mean, it's so unpredictable with these guys.
It is.
You don't know if you're going to end up with 200 penalty minutes or 200 goals.
Very physical rivalry.
Yeah, it's unbelievable when they get together.
Pittsburgh.
Philly.
Yeah, Philly. Columbus.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that hate Pittsburgh. Yeah. And I think 90% of it is jealousy. And because of that, it brings out anger in a lot of clubs.
That's a bold thing to say.
I would put Philadelphia, Columbus, the Rangers,
Detroit.
Yeah, even Detroit in there with the Penguins.
San Jose?
Yeah, I'd say Anaheim, LA.
Yeah, I'd say, probably LA. I'd probably choose LA. St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, St. Louis, I always felt like you mentioned earlier with Detroit, and with Detroit going east, that rivalry's kind of dead. But right now, I'd say hands down it would be Chicago.
Yep, totally
because
agree.
for many years, St. Louis just couldn't slay the juggernaut of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Tampa Bay.
Florida.
Yeah, I'd say Florida. Even maybe,
and now, like you say, Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit and Montreal, a little tiny bit. They've played each other.
Yeah. And I think there's kind of a rivalry even brewing with them in Pittsburgh now, too. I mean, Tampa almost beat them last year in the conference final. They were that close. There's a bit of a rivalry there.
Maple Leafs.
Montreal.
There's a few here, but Montreal.
Yeah. Montreal, hands down.
Boston. There's definitely Detroit. Buffalo.
Yeah.
There's
really a triangle effect here with Toronto, Montreal, and Boston. Those three. It's just
Vancouver. I never thought about this one.
No one does.
I have to say Boston.
Oh, burn on Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
Man, I'm not a Vancouver
Every
fan
time Boston
whatsoever.
and Vancouver play, it's always a good game.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean that stems back to when they ultimately lost in Game 7 and then trashed their city.
Yeah, you probably have to include Edmonton and Calgary a little bit.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Edmonton and Calgary would definitely have to be into this conversation.
What? Oh. Winnipeg. Yeah, interesting.
Love Winnipeg. I actually think there's a rivalry brewing with them in Pittsburgh based off of antics from previous games.
Yeah, this year, I think you're right.
Yeah, with that questionable hit that Malkin laid on Wheeler. Yeah, on Wheeler. I almost forgot if it was Wheeler or Brian Little, but the hit on Wheeler. And then ultimately the next game when Wheeler and Malkin got into a wrestle match, I'll call it that because it wasn't really a scrap. But there's kind of a rivalry brewing there for sure.
Yeah, and probably much like Vancouver, you had to probably include Calgary and Edmonton in this conversation
Love
as well.
Winnipeg.
Just Canadian teams usually always have a pretty good rivalry. Capitals.
Pittsburgh again.
Pittsburgh.
I'm going to sound so biased here, as a Penguins fan, but I mean, come on. Pittsburgh beats them out every time they run into them. Washington hates them. And then you always have that rivalry with Crosby and Ovechkin.
Yeah, that'll always be there.
It runs deep, Washington and Pittsburgh. It really does. And anytime they play, it's always exciting.
Yeah, even if Ovechkin and Crosby play for different teams.
Yeah. And I'd also throw Philadelphia in here, too. I feel Philadelphia has a good rivalry with the Capitals.
Yeah. That's it.
That is it.
That's all.
So, question for you. What would be your favorite rivalry?
As a Montreal Canadiens fan, I'm not going to say Montreal-Boston because that's a heart attack. My most favorite rivalry?
Yep. Like, if these two teams are playing, you have to watch it.
Man, that's a great question. I think I have to say Chicago and St. Louis. Which you probably didn't expect me to say.
Yeah, I didn't expect that at all.
Maybe that's why I wore this hat. But.
Well, you're going to be shocked with mine. Mine is Boston and Montreal.
Yeah.
Anytime they're playing regular season, playoffs, it doesn't matter. I am watching it. And I hate both teams. I hate Montreal. I hate Boston. But if they're playing, I'm watching it.
Yeah, it's admittedly very exciting.
Oh my God. You never know what's going to happen. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or even 30 years in the past. These teams have always hated each other. And I mean, coaches come and go, players come and go, but the hate is always there.
Yeah, and
it's so exciting.
I mean, there's been years where Montreal's been amazing and Boston has sucked, and vice versa. Boston's been amazing and Montreal sucked, and they play each other. And it's like even. Like
it brings out the best in both teams.
You never know who's going to win the games because they're so even. And it's never like a blowout. You never see Boston beating Montreal 7-1 or Montreal beating Boston 8-0 or something like that.
And this rivalry goes beyond teams. Like also the fans too.
Oh yeah.
Boston fans hate Montreal. Montreal fans hate Boston. It is just I don't know. You just see fans say on articles, say Boston beat Montreal last night in a game. You just see all these anti-Montreal posts and anti-Boston posts. I mean, these fan bases despise each other. I love this rivalry, and if they play, I'm watching it.
Well, Jason, who's been on this channel before in a few videos, he is a Boston fan and the most respectful Boston fan, I will admit.
Hands down.
That I've met.
the most respectful Boston fan, hands down.
And not even close. And we have a pretty good respect for one another. I respect that he likes Boston, and he respects that I like Montreal. So there's a bit of a mutual respect thing going on there, even though we don't like each other's teams very much. But yeah, that wraps it up. It's just a fun video to make, just talking about rivalries and stuff. It's always interesting to see new rivalries come about. Like this year, we see, like you said, Winnipeg and Pittsburgh, Calgary and Los Angeles. And there's been a few others this year as well. So it'd be interesting to see next year maybe some new rivalries pop up. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're new to this channel and you like to, if you've watched this entire video and you're still here, then I have a feeling maybe you like it. So I hope you subscribe and join us for our future videos. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.